In this lesson, we'll discuss how to add the 4 mounting holes for this bracket component. Now, these holes can be easily created using the extruded cut feature using similar methods that we've already seen. But here, I'd like to show you some advantages of using the Hole Wizard feature. I'll launch it from the feature toolbar, and you can see that the Hole Wizard contains a library of predefined standard hole sizes, including counter bore holes, countersunk holes, clearance holes, tapped holes, tapered tapped holes, as well as another item called legacy hole, which is rarely used, and a variety of slots. The Hole Wizard saves you a lot of time when creating cutouts to be used with standard hardware, because it includes predefined hole sizes for most standard hardware, so you don't have to look up standard hardware hole sizes to size your cut features manually. Another advantage of using the Hole Wizard feature is that when you create a 2D drawing of this part, as we'll see in a future lesson, SOLIDWORKS can automatically include the hole callouts and annotations for you. The Hole Wizard feature breaks down into 2 tabs, the Type and the Positions tab. Beginning with the Type tab, you can use the Property Manager to choose the type of hole you'll be using. In this case, it will be a simple clearance hole, and you can use the filters below to define it further. This will be an ANSI metric standard. You can use the drop-down here to choose from a few different drill types. In our case, this will be a screw clearance, and you can choose the size of the screw for this clearance hole. From the drop-down, I'll choose an M10 screw, which we'll be using in the assembly. There are a couple options for the fit type, which again are driven by the ANSI metric standard, as well as a couple other options such as the end condition. I can give it a depth, or as we saw in the extruded cut command, I can ensure that the Hole Wizard cuts through the entire part by switching this selection from blind to a through all end condition. I'll skip over the other options here for now and move on to the Positions tab. Here, we must tell SOLIDWORKS where to locate the holes that we want to create by selecting a face. If you want to create holes on multiple faces, SOLIDWORKS allows you to work with a 3D sketch, but that's a little bit outside the scope of what we're doing here. To keep this example simple, I'll select this top face to tell SOLIDWORKS to place the holes here. When I do, notice that SOLIDWORKS activates the point tool. These sketch points are what SOLIDWORKS will use to define the position of the holes. I'll quickly create 4 points for the holes. I won't worry about the exact location quite yet, but rather simply click 4 times in order to add the holes. To finish adding these holes, I can turn off the point tool by clicking its icon on the toolbar, or by pressing Escape on the keyboard. Pressing Escape on the keyboard simply deactivates the point tool and will not exit us from the Hole Wizard feature. To accurately define the position of the holes, we'll be using dimensions and relations, just as you've seen in every other sketch up to this point. To get a better view, I'll look normal to this sketch by pressing the spacebar on the keyboard and clicking the Normal to View option. At this point, with the selection arrow, I can click and move the points anywhere. So let's use a combination of relations and dimensions to make these 2 holes horizontal from one another. I'll hold down the Control key to select both of them. Select the horizontal relation from the pop-up, and you can see the holes snap into position. I'll repeat this process for the lower 2 holes, and you can see that these 2 sets of holes remain horizontal from one another, as well as the geometric flags being added. Next, I'll hold down the Control key, choose to make these 2 points vertical, and repeat the process for these holes here. At this point, you can see the relations that are added, so I'll simply need to add a couple of dimensions to finish fully defining the sketch points. I'll launch the Smart Dimension tool by pressing the S key on the keyboard. And if I add a 15mm dimension to this hole here, you can see that this hole updates as well, since it has a corresponding vertical relation. I'll repeat the process for the opposite side. And if I press the Escape key on my keyboard, you can see that these holes can no longer move side to side, but they can still move up or down. I'll finish by adding 2 more dimensions using the S key on the keyboard and give a vertical dimension from this edge. and one more vertical dimension from this edge to this point. To exit the Smart Dimension tool, I'll press Escape on the keyboard. Now at this point, the status bar indicates that the sketch points are fully defined, and so I'll click the green check to finish. When I do, you can see the 4 holes are added. And there's a new Hole Wizard feature in the Feature Manager tree. If I expand this Hole Wizard feature, you can see there are actually 2 sketches here. The first sketch shows us the sketch points that we use to define the locations of the holes, and this second sketch here is one that SOLIDWORKS created automatically. SOLIDWORKS uses the second sketch as the basis for the shape of the hole to define its type. If you want to change the hole type, size, or shape, I recommend never editing this second sketch. Instead, it's always a better idea to edit the Hole Wizard feature itself. To do this, just click on the feature and select Edit Feature. Here, you can choose from all of the standard hardware types, and if you want to modify the position of the holes, you can simply switch over to the Positions tab. I don't need to make any changes here, so I'll click the red X icon to exit the Hole Wizard command.